Hiya folks, how you all doing? It's Will here back for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 65 from Adelaide, Australia, as Mark the Super Samoan Hunt faces off against Stipe Miocic in the heavyweight encounter for the main event of this card. Not too bad a card. Coming off UFC 186 last week, which was a pretty good card with some nice finishes. Demetrius Johnson creating himself a little bit of history. May 10th is my birthday, so I'm looking forward to watch. I always enjoy watching a card on my birthday. Did last year with, I think it was in Ohio, with Matt Brown against Eric Silva, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to get straight into this, and we're going to be starting down in the flyweight division. We've got Alpetkin, Ozkilic against Nguyen. Ozkilic, I think he's 9-3. He's coming off a couple of losses here. Lost last time out to John Lineker. Was fairly decent on the feet. Tried to get the takedowns. I think he got 2 in that fight, but Lineker got back to his feet fairly quickly. I think he put that much into getting those takedowns that he by the end of the second round he was very much gassed. Went into the third round and Lineker just put it on him and stopped him in that round. Nguyen, he's a 13-5 record. He's won most of his fights by submission, but he is a guy who's very prone to getting submitted as well. I think there was an internet video come out maybe about 6 months to 9 months ago. A very tattooed guy who looked like he was kind of bullying him a little bit. Went in the cage, and when the first round he knocked him out. I can't see Ozkilic submitting him at all, but I think he's going to have the whereabouts and the wrestling to get him down in the ground. Have more than enough on his feet for Nguyen as well. So I like Ozkilic in this fight. I don't think he finishes it, but I like Ozkilic by a pretty clear decision. Next up is Vick Grujic against Brendan O'Reilly. Vick Grujic is coming off a knockout loss last time to Chris Clements. 6-4 record, fights out Alliance in San Diego. Was looking okay in that fight. Clements was catching him with a few shots. Clements threw a kind of flying knee, followed up by a big right hand, took him out. Personally, I don't think Vick Grujic should really be in the UFC, as well with his opponent as well. It was Brendan O'Reilly, who they were both in the tough show. He lost last time out to Lingping Zhang, who pretty much dominated me. O'Reilly didn't really offer much in that fight at all. Two guys who, personally, I don't think should be in the UFC. And it's really tough to pick between these fighters here. I think I'm going to go Vick Grujic. I think he's got more knockout power. I think O'Reilly's going to want to try and take this to the ground, maybe force it against the cage and load some shots on Grujic. But I think Grujic has got enough to keep O'Reilly away, and I like him possibly with a late knockout, but I can maybe see a decision as well. Grujic has probably got a big chance of gassing as well, but I'm going to go Grujic. I think I'll go a second round. I'll go a decision, sorry. Next up, we've got Alex Chambers against Kailin Curran. Kailin Curran lost to Paige Van Zandt in a very fun fight. Doesn't offer much on her feet. Very flat-footed. Doesn't angle very well. She's okay in the kind of takedowns. Her defense isn't fairly good. But the thing is with Van Zandt, she's very scrappy. And it's one of these people that moves into positions very easily. I think in this fight against Alex Chambers, who, to be honest with you, she's not a very big strawweight. Even at the atom weight, she's not a very big one up there. I don't see where she really hurts Curran in this fight. I think Curran, even though she's pretty terrible on her feet, she has a little bit of wrestling. I can see her just grinding out a decision victory here. For Kailin Curran, so I'm going to go Curran. Next up, we've got Dylan Andrews against Brad Scott. Actually, kind of looking forward to this fight. Dylan Andrews, if you remember last time, he actually knocked himself out against Sam Alvey, and he's got some pretty big power punches. If he sets his feet well and he catches with you, you're going to go to sleep. Takedown defense is improving from what I've seen. He goes for some sloppy takedowns, kind of rushes in. And leaves his head there ready to be punched. Brad Scott is coming off a pretty terrible performance. I actually watched it in London against Claudio Silva. Actually, when I was watching it live, I thought he won the fight. Watching it again, I still think he won the fight. I don't know how you give it to Claudio Silva. I actually spoke to him after that fight, and he was outside the hotel and he couldn't believe he actually lost that fight. So hopefully he's going to bring the fight here to Dylan Andrews, who will want to stand and bang, I reckon. And I can see Scott try to initiate the takedown. Fights out the MMA lab in Arizona with John Crouch, and so on. So I'm expecting him to hopefully try and get this to the ground. I really want to pick Brad's. In fact, I'm going to pick Brad Scott. I think he can. The later this fight goes on, the more he can dominate and maybe get the fight to the ground. So I'm actually going to go with underdog here and Brad Scott for the victory. Next up, we have Beck Rollins against Lisa Ellis. Now, this is a pretty terrible fight. If you've seen these girls on Twitter, it's kind of, yeah, it's not very nice to see. They've been calling each other names and talking about each other's kids and that, being away from their kids. And Beck Rollins has been in San Diego at the Lions training facility out there, and Ellis has kind of left a newborn daughter to go on tough. So, and Angela Magana has been involved in this. So the two bitches pretty much in Rollins and Magana have been talking their shit. But Beck Rollins should really win this fight. If she can't win this fight, I think she's got a 5-4 record. Now she has hung with some of the best ones in there. Carla Esparza, even though she got taken down pretty repeatedly, she was always in the contest and she always was in the fight. She'll have the better advantage on the feet without a doubt. Her footwork's a lot better. Pops a pretty nice jab. Doesn't have particularly much power, but if she can accumulate those shots, I think they'll take their effect on Lisa Ellis here. Lisa Ellis, who will probably want to initiate the takedown, get Rollins against the fence, and try and take her down. But she's pretty terrible at giving positions away down there. She gives her back up very easily. You can always grab an arm down there for a Kimura or an armbar. Beck Rollins needs to win this fight if she's got any chance of staying in the UFC. I think she will do it. I think she can actually stop Lisa Ellis as well. I might go a 3rd round submission for Beck Rollins. Next up, we've got Dan Kelly against Sam Alvey. Dan Kelly, Olympic judoka who fought in the Olympics, is coming off an absolute stinker of a fight against Patrick Walsh. I think it was back in Broomfield in February. Just a horrible fight. Doesn't have much on his feet, but once he gets into the clinch and the grappling side of things, he's actually pretty good. And he looks for submissions, and he's very heavy down the ground. And if he gets a hold of a limb, I think he will. He could definitely get the submission here. But I think Sam Alvey's takedown defense is phenomenal, and the kid has got some big power in his hands. He showed that against Cesar Ferreira last time out. I think the longer this fight goes in, it actually favours Alvey quite a lot more. So I like Sam Alvey. I think he can knock Dan Kelly out kind of towards the end of the 2nd round. And I'm going to go by TKO as well. I say the kid's got big power. You saw that against Mutante last time out down Brazil. And I like him to do the same in this fight here. So I'm going to go Alvey by TKO in the 2nd. Next up is a fighter I'm actually really looking forward to watching. It's Kyle Noke of Australia against Jonavin Webb. Jonavin Webb is a guy, he's 8-0, predominantly a wrestler. He's got, I think, 5 submission victories with 3 decisions to his record. And a very good wrestler who, when he gets you down there, you're not getting back up. And this is why I favour Webb over Kyle Noke here, because Noke isn't known for his takedown defense. He's pretty weak with that. Is very good in the feet. Throws some nice hooks. When he gets you in the clinch, he can throw some nice shots. We'll try and probably push Webb against the cage here. I just don't see it happening at all. I think this is going to be a fight where Webb's just going to predominantly take down Kyle Noke and keep him there and win a decision victory. I can see maybe Noke taking a round off Webb here, but I'm going to go Jonavin Webb by 29-28 across the board. So Jonavin Webb there. Next up, we've got in the featherweight division, we've got Hatsu Hioki against Dan Hooker. Now, Hatsu Hioki, I think he's on like a 4-fight losing streak. No, I lie. He beat Ivan Menjivar. He's lost 3 of his last 4. Lost last time. He actually got submitted by Charles Oliveira, which is quite surprising because that is where Hioki's strengths lies down in the ground there, and somebody's judo to get you down onto that ground. I expect him to come out here and beat Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker coming off a pretty big beat down against Maximo Blanco. It was kind of a punching bag in that fight. He kept coming forward. Very resilient fighter, very long rangy fighter for the division as well. Has some skills when it goes to the ground. We showed that against Entwistle. He stopped the leg lock, which Entwistle is kind of known for, and then unloaded with some elbows in that fight. But this is a great fight for Hioki here. Hioki is at least a couple of levels, maybe back in the day, ahead of Dan Hooker. But I like a second round submission here. I think, in fact, the first round submission, sorry. Hooker has been, I think he's been subbed like 4 times in his career, so I'm going to go Hatsu Hioki by a first round submission. Probably the best fight of the entire night, maybe apart from the main card, it's Jake Matthews against James Vick, the first fight in the main card here. Jake Matthews, a very athletic, a very strong, a powerful guy, a great grappler. A grappler who's really coming along. He's very strong. He's kind of filling out into that man now, and he showed in his last 2 fights. Beat Deshaun Johnson via submission, which is not really saying much, because Deshaun Johnson's probably got no ground game whatsoever. He's predominantly a boxer. But last time out, I think he hurt Wagner Hosha, caught him in a lovely submission, and took out a legit black belt down there. So really looking forward to seeing Matthews. I do think he's a prospect in that lightweight division, huge guy for the division. But he's against a fellow huge guy here against James Vick, who fights out of the Lloyd Arfin team. So a guy who's won his last 3 fights in UFC. I think he beat in the gym via submission, beat Lazaro, and then last time beat Nick Hine pretty convincingly on the feet. Was a little bit sloppy, got hit with some shots against Hine, who always comes forward and tries to use his judo and his big hooks. He likes to pop the jab out. He's very rangy for the division, for the lightweight division. But I think down in Australia, I just like Jake Matthews in this fight. I think if he was to catch James Vick as well, he could take him out. But I like Jake Matthews via decision here. So Matthews via unanimous decision. We have Anthony Perosh against Sean O'Connell. Perosh, he just kind of keeps on winning fights. He's a very good fighter when it goes to ground. Doesn't offer much on his feet. Does have some power when he plants his feet, but he's got pretty bad footwork. If you watch his fights, his footwork isn't great. But he does excel when it goes to the ground. And against Sean O'Connell here, who gasses really badly, I think when this fight goes into later rounds, he's going to catch him, put him down the ground, and submit him fairly easily. O'Connell gives his back up very easily as well. You can move, you can transition round about O'Connell fairly easily as well. I think Perosh will get him down. I think he will submit him at some point in this fight. So Anthony Perosh via submission. Co-main event of the night, we have Brad Tavares against Robert Whittaker in the middleweight division. Another good fight. Brad Tavares coming off a pretty good performance over, I think it was Nate Marquardt back in January at UFC 182. Used his jab very well, kept the fight on the feet, hit Marquardt with some lovely leg kicks as well, some very heavy leg kicks. Before that, he lost via TKO to Tim Boach. I say a fighter who's came along since he was in Ultimate Fighter. Thought he looked a bit of a destroyer when he destroyed Phil Baroni. Had some power, but he's never really showed that ever since. And his striking is fairly decent as well, so maybe it's just one of these things, he doesn't have the power that I thought he did at one point. Against Robert Whittaker here, who's probably the heavier-handed guy coming up from the welterweight division. Had a great fight against Clint Hester, took some big shots, got a good chin, and delivered a couple of hammer blows to Clint Hester and knocked him out late in that fight. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I'm leaning towards Tavares. It would not shock me one bit if Robert Whittaker was to get the decision victory here, but I like Brad Tavares by a very close split decision. And on to the main event of the night, we have Stipe Miocic against Mark Hunt. A really good looking fight. Stipe Miocic coming off that loss to Junior Dos Santos. He's a Golden Gloves boxer. Clearly won the first 2 rounds against Junior Dos Santos. Hit him with some big shots. Started to gas really bad. And in the end up that kind of cost him. Dos Santos just kind of kept coming forward, hitting him with shots the last 3 rounds and nicked the decision victory. from that there. He's got his wrestling skills as well. I think he's been working with Krokop, so his striking is probably going to be on point, and it's going to have to be here against Mark Hunt, who we all know is a guy who just loves to stand and bang. Me personally, I think his chin is starting to go a little bit. I know he came in short notice against Fabrizio Verdum back in Mexico, but I just think he's going to go back a little bit now. I've just got that feeling about him. But this is the guy that can knock you out one shot anytime and just keep walking off and saying fuck you, I've got you out of there. A great guy to watch, a guy that years ago you never thought would get a win streak, be such a big name in the UFC, and he's a big name. He's a main event fighter for sure for these fight night cards. I just think Miocic has got more tools to his belt. It will be hard going down into Australia and beating Mark Hunt, but I think Miocic has got the wrestling there. If the fight goes longer, I think Hunt will tire out and not be able to land those shots as much. So I'm going to go Stipe Miocic via another decision victory. Perhaps a very late 4th, 5th round TKO if his gas tank keeps up as well. So I see a lot of decisions in this card. So that is my picks for UFC Fight Night 65 from Adelaide in Australia. Next fight card I'll be breaking down is UFC Fight Night 66 from the Philippines in Manila. It's a great fight. Frankie Edgar faces off against Uriah Faber. So come follow me on Twitter at Will Martin MMA. We can talk some MMA on there. Until then, share the video, comment, let me know your picks. I love talking to you about your picks, and I will see you soon.